Hey, how's it going, guys? I'm Ryuz and welcome back to another deck showcase video. This will be our first deck showcase for the new pack. And of course, every time we get a new pack, we also get a new keywords. So let's introduce them first. And as usual, if you want to skip, I already have the timestamp ready. And the first keyword that we have is Stand Fast. This is like your second assault attempt, but instead of actually attacking, it will just move your Shigami to the combat zone with the assault bonus. The assault bonus will be removed on the next combat that Shigami has. So for example, if you have a +2/+2 rally, then you activate the Stand Fast effect. That Shigami will move to the combat zone with a +2 attack and a +2 shield. That effect will be removed the next time that Shigami engages in any type of combat. But in order to activate a Stand Fast effect, you have to activate a card that actually has a Stand Fast keyword. Otherwise, your Shigami will just attack like normal. The second keyword is Speedy. I hate this name, it sounds really dumb. But this card is basically like a regular card, but instead of consuming orbs, it will consume your assault attempt. That's pretty much it. The third keyword comes in one package: Combat Power and Weak. Combat Power is basically a temporary attack boost. It will get removed after the next combat. And Weak is pretty much the opposite of it. It decreases the attack power until the next combat. And the last one is exclusive to Amonozako. They decided to call it Fear. Fear is an invocation similar to Kanko's Foxmark, but it's much faster because you don't have to wait until the countdown finished to deal damage. This fear will take effect whenever Amonozako gains combat power. So if she gets a +1 combat power, that will deal 1 damage to all Shigami that has her fear invocation. This invocation will not be removed unless she dies or that Shigami dies. But it is not stackable because it is a unique invocation. So you will not be able to stack 2 fears onto one Shigami to deal double the damage. And that's pretty much it for the new keywords. I got a pretty exciting deck to show you. So let's jump straight into it, shall we? Today, I want to introduce you to Kotodama. She works very similar to Onikiri. There are good things and bad things about her ability. The good thing is that she doesn't need to be in the combat zone to trigger her ability. The bad thing is that she only counters the first card activated. So if your guess is incorrect, her skill will not trigger. And in order to increase the accuracy of our big brain mind games, we are bringing two Shigami that specialize on peeping at your opponent's hand. Langia here acts as our utility. He is doing everything that we need him to do. He can snipe, he can summon blocker, he can fire projectiles, he can stun, and most importantly, he can actually prevent you from dying with his SSR. So to summarize each Shigami roles, Langia is your utility, Jinkogyo is your control, Satori is your recovery, and Kotodama is your counter Shigami. If you want to be optimal, you can put another Kotodama SSR, but I think one works pretty fine. And for Satori, you can mess around with her ratio a bit more if you want to. And here is the card priority list. For high priority, you definitely want education in your starting hand because not only it will let you draw, it will also let you pick at one card on activation. The more cards you can pick, the better it is for Satori later on. Langia Evolve is also a great card to have early on because on activation, it will get you one of his very important mantra. And this Evolve will allow you to fire off projectile once per turn when he activates a card. This also applies on the opponent's turn. And depending on the matchup, you either want Burning Incense or Jinkogyo's Evolve. If you are fighting aggro decks, you want Burning Incense to stop their assault. And if you are against control or mid-range, take the Evolve. That way you can deal more damage as you etch more of their cards. For the situational choice, I think most of our snipe spells goes here. And Kotodama's SSR. Yes, it is really powerful, but if you don't predict your opponent moves correctly, it will do absolutely nothing. And for finisher, we have Returning. This is a really powerful 10 damage piercing projectile. You can use this when you are sure the opponent will activate a certain card next turn. The way I usually use this is when I pick the spell scene, I will either pick the form Emergence or the Battle Emergence. That way, the opponent will be fooled into thinking they already triggered the effect. Then we have Dream Binder and Mind Maze. This card works pretty similar. They both restrict your opponents into doing very specific action. Dream Binder will make your opponent play an edge card first before they can activate other card. This way you can easily guess which sin should you pick for Kotodama. And Mind Maze is just straight up nasty. It's a one-sided Oitsukigami's SSR. And of course, we do have Mantra of Immortality. Not only it prevents your death, but on activation it will also randomly kill an opponent's Shigami. And it will also grant Langya a pretty big stats form when the field is destroyed. And that's about it for the deck rundown. This is a very difficult deck to pilot. And I guarantee you will lose a lot in the first few matches. But after you get used to predicting cards, this is just straight up busted. The most important thing of this deck, other than predicting moves, is timing. You need to know when you should force a blocker or when you just let the attack pass by. In my opinion, that timing is the most difficult one. Even I'm still making tons of mistakes when using this deck. Our first battle will be up against this version of Kotodama. I'm not really sure what they are going for, but I think they are going for Ichimokuren beatdown while setting up disruption using Uminocho and Kotodama. This should be a pretty interesting matchup. We get the first turn, which is pretty ideal for us. With this deck, your first level up priority would be either Satori or Kotodama, and Jinkogyo should be your last one, unless you have a stun spell and you are up against an aggro deck. And that would be a very different strategy. But for this matchup, I think they are playing a lot of spells, so Kotodama will be our first level up, so that next turn she can start countering. Now, this is where it gets tricky. You have to judge whether your opponent can deal huge damage or not. If not, you can just let them hit you a few times while you are setting up your board. Like for now, I would just let Satori chill in the back. I'm not going to make Langya go forward because I already got this evolve ready to go. Against this type of deck, most of the time you want to gamble on Spell Synth, but because they will get a double level up next turn, I will try to gamble on Form Synth. Then we'll just use Jinkogyo to get rid of their Langya and pass. I don't want to use Burning Incense just yet. I want to save it until they put up a 4. On their turn, my prediction is correct. They will activate a field card first that will stun our Jinkogyo. Then they will evolve Uminocho to put her on the combat zone, and that will activate her passive, killing our Jinkogyo. That's fine, because we are still ways away from level 3. On our turn, we will bet on a Spell Synth. This time, we don't exactly have the best level 2 cards, so we'll have to use Langya's Evolve. He will get countered, but not enough to actually kill him. I want to activate our Mantra of Soul, but their Kotodama is trying to get our cards, so I will snipe her first with Club Bomb and pass. On their turn, they will evolve Ichimokuren, that will also get countered. But since the skill will put a form, that doesn't matter. Instead of attacking, they will just use the stun fast effect to move him to the combat zone. Ichimokuren will also gain Uminocho passive, which is pretty annoying to deal with. After that, they will attack for real, dealing 5 damage. Because they attack, they lost the stun fast passive attack group. On our turn, I will move back their Ichimokuren with Mantra of Soul. Then use Mantra of Destruction to kill their Uminocho. I don't want her passive triggering on Langya. On their turn, they will just attack using their Ichimokuren and pass. They don't deal huge damage, but it will build up over time, which is going to be a problem for us. On our turn, we need a bit more cards, so we put Education on Kotodama. Then I tried to snipe their Ichimokuren using movement, but I miscalculated the damage, so he will live for at least one more turn. At the start of their turn, the spell of destruction we gave them will take effect, extending their Uminocho cooldown. Then they will actually play Kotodama SSR. This will be very dangerous because we rely heavily on our spells. After that, they will attack again with their Ichimokuren and pass. On our turn, I thought they gambled on spell, but when I tried activating my Mind Haste, they actually countered that. Very cheeky. So I will finally activate the Burning Incense, etching Onmyoji card that will stun the opponent and the projectile will kill their Ichimokuren. This should buy us a bit more time because they don't have combat cards. On our turn, they will activate Returning. Now this is a very dangerous card. If we gamble wrong, we'll get blasted by a 10 damage projectile right away. Then they will put the advice form on Kotodama and pass. This turn, I will gamble the forms in because I have a feeling that they will try to play the Onmyoji field. I thought they would gamble on form again, but when I activate Mantra of Immortality, we got bitch-smacked by the 10 damage. But with this activation, the random projectile will kill their Langia. And if they somehow manage to projectile us, as long as our Langia get the form from the field, we can avoid death one time. We did use Extort to change up their hand. I don't want them to have Mantra of Immortality, so as long as that's gone, we are good. And I capped the field because I want them to use it so it gets countered. At the start of their turn, Immortality field self-destructs, and that will trigger Langia's skill, killing their Kotodama. That was such a perfect random projectile. That means we don't have to worry about getting countered anymore. And as I thought, they will try to play a form. We did counter it, but that didn't kill her. After that, they will play the SSR field, killing our Langia, and they will pass. All that's left in their hand is just spells, so we are always betting on Spellsin. Now, at this point, I forgot that the Immortality mantra can be used even when Langia is defeated. If I realized that, I would have activated that first, then start to blast them with the Edge effect. But I think we'll be fine as long as we disable their assault with Burning Incense. On their turn, they will revive Onmyoji. Then, the card they top deck is actually a combat card. Thankfully, it wasn't enough to kill us. We barely escaped from death. So, no cheering just yet. This time, we are betting on the Spellsin again. First, I need to get rid of their Ichimokuren. I activate Soul Binder, that will etch a card, and the projectile will kill Ichimokuren. After that, we attack with Satori, and that will destroy the field, reviving our Langia. That means even if they kill us, we get another chance to live. And at the start of next turn, we will get a blocker for Mantra of Soul. On their turn, they will attack with Langia to put a field on us, then try to activate Mantra of Soul. That will get countered by our Kotodama, and she will evolve, so that AoE damage will kill their Langia. At the start of our turn, we'll take damage, but because we have attained Immortality, our health is back at 6. Of course, we will bet on Spellsin again. This time, I notice we can revive Langia, so we will revive him first. The projectile will kill their Onmyoji, and even if it didn't, the mantra effect will. Then we put Dream Binder on Jinkokyo. This way, they will have to play the edge card first before they can activate anything else. That will guarantee our Kotodama counter. At the start of their turn, the Immortality field exploded, put a form back on Langia. Of course, the projectile will actually kill their revived Kotodama. And now, they realize we just locked them out and surrendered. That was a really close match, a little bit too close for comfort. Our second medal is up against a new build of Enma Aggro using the new Momo. This should be pretty interesting. In this battle, I will show you how this deck fares against Aggro deck. It's pretty hard to time the cards when against Aggro, but I will show you how I usually do it. We got the second turn this time, which is the worst when fighting against Aggro Enma because they can build up their ghost much faster. But our hand does look pretty good. We got a lot of snipe cards. They get the first turn and they actually level up Bakekujira first, and we'll just pass. Okay, this is interesting. On our turn, I want to have a blocker, so I will just put Langia to the combat zone and pass. I don't want to use his spells just yet. On their turn, they will activate Enma's field, then assault. Ah, I see the reason they didn't attack last turn, so that they can make a ghost that has a 5+ attack to remove anyone that's in the combat zone. On our turn, we will snipe their Enma with Club Bomb, then just attack with Satori because I want that field to be gone as soon as possible. On their turn, for some reason they will attack with Momo first, then they will put the level 1 form on her. That form is actually annoying. It makes their Shigami -1 attack. It's basically Kaoru's Owl Guard. On our turn, I want to reveal as much of their hand as possible, so I will evolve our Jinkogyo. Of course, we will etch the Enma's form, so it will be easier to snipe. Then we'll put Educating on Kotodama, just so we can draw more cards when her Verbal Sin is triggered. Normally, when against aggro, I would recommend choosing the Combat Sin, but for Enma decks, just pick either Spell or Form Sin. On their turn, they will evolve Shiranui, then assault again with Momo dealing 4 damage to us, and pass. Their Bakekujira hasn't moved for a while, so that means they either don't have his cards or they only have his level 3 one. This turn I'm going for Spell Sin, and this turn we'll have to evolve Langia so we get that delicious random projectile. Then we'll have to activate Mantra of Soul. This will allow us to get a blocker once the field we put on them is destroyed. On their turn, they will evolve Bakekujira. That means they will get a 2 projectile and we get a draw. After that, they will activate another Enma's field. Oh wow, you're actually going to use the summon that we gave them to assault. That's pretty genius, not gonna lie. This is a very smart Enma player. On this turn, we are still going to pick Spell Sin. We'll put Vision on Satori so that they will have to pay every time they use a revealed card. Then we'll use Mantra of Destruction to snipe their Enma to death again. Langia skill will trigger, dealing a decent amount of damage to all of their Shigami, bringing them down to 1 and 2 health. Let's see what they can do to avoid their inevitable death. They will just attack twice with the summon and pass. They are definitely exceeding my expectation, that's for sure. This time I'll pick the Form Sin because I have a feeling that they will use Shiranui's SSR. I will have to snipe their Bakekujira to limit their option to just using Shiranui. Then we'll just assault, and because that summon can't be blocked, we pretty much get a free pass to punch face while also wiping their Shigami clean with Langia's skill. And we also got a blocker from our destroyed field. On their turn, of course, they will pass because they cannot do anything. On our turn, we finally reach level 3, so we'll put our Dream Binder on Jinkogyo. This will limit their options even more. They cannot activate a card unless they play an edge card first. I'm not comfortable with our health being so low, so we'll use Satori to attack and lifesteal 5 from them. On their turn, again, they will pass because they cannot do anything but watch us flex. On our turn, we'll pick Spell Sin again because we etch most of their spells, and of course, once per turn, Jinkogyo will etch more cards. I will activate Kotodama's SSR just to flex even more. We'll attack with Satori again and pass. They pretty much got no chance of winning at this point. They will finally put Shiranui's SSR, but that also means they will have to pay 2 health from Satori and eat 2 projectiles from Jinkogyo. After that, they will try to activate Bakekujira's SSR, but that also means they will get taxed to death by Satori. And that, my friend, is how we end aggro decks. And with that, you have reached the end of the video. I sincerely hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any deck requests or suggestions, let me know down in the comments. If you want to support me, I have Patreon and Ko-Fi links down below. And do not forget to join the Onmyoji Discord because we got some awesome and helpful people in there. That is it for me. See you on the next video. Bye!